Welcome to today's live high ticket sales training that we did with our internal sales reps. Now, with that said, we're going to review a bunch of sales calls today, answer a myriad of questions. The two main things that you can walk away with today are how to handle the I need to talk to my CFO or accountant objection, as well as I'm going on a holiday. Can we restart this when we come back? Now, obviously, the first objection is a B2B objection. The second objection is B2B and B2C. Before we get into it, the biggest things I need to understand from a mental model on how to approach these objections is with the I need to talk to my CFO, accountant, or team objection. What this usually stems from is the business owner feels that if they move forward without talking to their team prior, they're actually going to lose trust, they're going to lose credibility, they're going to lose authority and leadership, and ultimately, obviously lose the respect of their team. Now, it could not be further from the truth. In fact, it's actually the inverse. If they go to their team and ask for that permission to move forward on something, they're actually losing that trust in the long run. And ultimately, they're hurting their chances for success and true leadership inside the business. Now, obviously, we can't just tell the business owner that straight up, because if you do, they have high egos. It's not going to work out too well in your favor. So we need to approach this very delicately. But today, I'll show you exactly how to do that and get that CEO to realize that he needs to gain back that power, gain back that leadership, and put it in his pocket, and ultimately move forward today without speaking to his team. This is an objection I've learned how to handle plenty of times, selling at a very high level B2B, selling packages from 24,000 to 100,000 on the front end. And this is an objection I got plenty of times. Now, with the holiday objection, this is obviously a B2C and B2B objection, but the real killer here is that most people get screwed up on is they don't know how to decipher. Is this a smokescreen for something else? Or is it ultimately a true logistical objection? Now, I will teach you how to handle both these, but most importantly, you need to realize how to decipher that first and know which path to go down. And then based off that, I will give you the scripting for both. Now, real quick on me, before we get into this training, if you don't know who I am, my name is Temple Naylor. I'm the 007 closer. I've been in high ticket sales for 7+ years. I've sold everything from 7K fitness coaching to 80K B2B masterminds, you name it, I've sold it all. Now, with that said, I've also been the top performer and closer over at Cole Gordon at Closer.io, making $50,000 a month in commissions only. And I've also trained the sales teams of Tai Lopez, Jay Shetty, Matt Gray, Dickie Bush, Rob Dow, and plenty of others. If you have any questions on anything we cover in this training on the inside, or you have questions that aren't related, that are just sales general, drop a comment down below. I will answer them for you. And without further ado, let's dive into it. Yeah, Devin, go for it.
I'll ask a question. So I have also the call we're going to go over is Dustin. He's a closer on my team. But anyways, when it comes to pipeline management, first off, how do you structure your day to fit in pipeline and following up with people? And what are some of the best practices that you've seen to really just reignite some old leads?
Yeah.
Really, really broad question. I know it is. So
I think the best way, man, is just to go on your calendar and text every single person that's ever been on your calendar that hasn't closed, regardless if they showed, qualified, whatever. Like, don't spend time reviewing every individual name's application, going through that. Just text every single person you know for a fact didn't close. And what I text them is something regarding their pain point. So what I like to specifically say is like, hey, I'm curious. You just popped in my head the other day. Did you ever solve XYZ pain point? So for yourself, right, if your offers 20 guaranteed appointments, I'm just making that up. Say, hey, did you ever start getting those 20 appointments weekly consistently?
Okay. And that's it.
Yeah, by pure numbers games, you're going to hit somebody that's having a bit bad of a day with that problem. And then they're going to have their text and it's going to remind them, damn, it's been 6, 7, 8 months and I'm still in the same exact spot I'm wearing today. And whatever would I have been if I just moved forward with that guy. And that turns into the easiest close of your life.
Okay. Makes sense. Sweet. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's just go to your call review, bro. You want to drop it?
Yeah, Dustin, what you got, man?
Yeah, I'll drop it in here.
All right.
And then Dustin, what's some context on this call, just so Temple has some awareness?
Yeah, so the timestamp is like 31:45. I could have done a better job in discovery. And when I got to the end of the call, he pulled out some objections that I thought that I had covered, but I guess I really didn't tie down. And it came down to a budget situation. I tried to get a deposit from him, and then he gave me kickback about a CFO and all this other stuff. And I more or less let him off the call, but I wanted to see, how it could have been handled differently with that objection coming up with like a CFO or whatever it may have been. So at least got either yes, no, or deposit on the call.
Cool. All right, let's see.
So that you run. And someone like an offer like yours, coaching consulting, we typically look at something about 12. A common question that people ask is like, well, can you tell me what podcast I'm going to be on? And I like to use the metaphor of, it's like taking your car to a mechanic because it's making a noise and be like, hey, what's wrong with it when they haven't opened the hood? And so that's where we really open the hood of your business and understand the intricacies of it so that we can make sure you're in front of the right demographics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. So step one, get you on the right podcast. Step two is what we call David versus Goliath. And so typically, like I said, 50% of our clients have been on podcasts. So I'll tell them, I'll be like, cool, let's pull some of them up and check them out.
Right.
And typically they're like super tiny podcasts that nobody's really tuning into, and the goal is exposure. But at the end of the day, like you're not getting a return on the time you invested on these small podcasts. And so what we do is we make sure not only you're on the Perfect Fit podcast, but you're on big podcasts. So our average podcast is about 60,000 listeners of your ideal clients. So step one is getting you in front of the right people. Two is about putting you in front of a lot of those people. And, people typically ask, they're like, well, Dustin, how are you going to do that? Because I don't have some massive brand. And at the end of the day, it's like, we just built an incredible network of people throughout, doing this and putting them on podcasts that they trust whoever we bring them is just going to be a great guest. And to be honest, I don't know if you checked out, do you get a chance to look at any of the testimonials or?
Yeah. I know some of Tanner, I've seen Tanner and some of those guys. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah. And all of those guys come and work with us and they typically say one thing. They're just like, Dustin, I want you to get me in front of as many people as possible without me having to dump more money and spend. Because that's it. Like we all know that it's about attention is currency in 2025. And you're basically in a spending war, and whoever spends more is the person that wins on ads. So if you find a different vehicle, then there's not as much competition there.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So cool. And so step three, it really comes down to, I have a lot of conversations with people and they just really have no idea how to convert podcast listeners into clients. So step three is all about converting. I'll typically ask, because people go on podcasts, they're like, why didn't really get any clients? And I'll ask them, like, what was the strategy behind it? And they'll be like, well, I just went on podcast and spoke, or I sent people to a lead magnet, or I put them inside of a drip campaign or something like that. And at the end of the day, like a podcast lead is one of the hottest leads you can get because there's so much massive trust already built because they've listened to so much of you.
Yeah.
And so, dropping them in automation, it'll make them go from hot to cold really quick. And so the first thing we do is we work with you to build a monetization strategy. And it's designed to be able to convert the podcast listener into a high ticket client. And hence why we go through such a deep understanding the business model first. So, and at the end of the day, like a lot of people think that podcasts are the endpoint, but in reality, it's just the starting point because what you do with all the content after the podcast, like that makes all the difference in the world. And people typically are like, well, I already know what to do. I just drop it on my socials or whatever. We more or less walk you through how to weaponize it and strategically deploy it. So like you can use it in organic, you can use it in your paid stuff that you're currently doing. You can use it in your sales process because not only does it increase your lead, but it also increase your booking rate. It will basically stabilize when it comes to your show rate, right? Because there's so much trust already there because you're leveraging the host's platform they've already created.
Okay.
So cool, man. High level view, step one, put you on the right podcast with a custom strategy. Two, get you in front of a lot of those people. Typically, I want to say it's a top 5% podcast in your specific niche in the world. And then three, how to convert attention and eyeballs into actual clients. So what questions you got from me around all that stuff?
Do I get the videos from the podcast to be able to click into our socials?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Are the podcasts in person or are they virtual most times?
Great question. So typically it's about 90% virtual. If for some reason you're traveling or you're like, hey, I really want to do it in person, then we can line that up and accommodate that for you.
Okay. Cool. And do you like the monetization strategy? Am I gonna have to rebuild shit for my offer?
No, we're gonna help. You're gonna utilize what you're already doing. We're just gonna amplify it.
Okay, cool. Break it down for me, man. How much am I gonna invest in this? Is this a Rolls Royce or is this like a Camry?
Right. No, I like it. So like I said, like 12 podcasts over 16 weeks. What happens is that, as soon as you're like, yeah, let's do this, we have a kickoff call. You're fully onboarded in 24 to 48 hours, and then you're on your first podcast within 14 days. So, I'll definitely dive into the best. I just make sure, like, money aside, like, does this sound 100% like it's the right fit in what you're trying to do?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, man. So when it comes to the investment for everything I mentioned, it's 20K.
Okay. And that's 12 podcasts, 16 weeks, first podcast within 14 days. 20K, what is it, US?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Payment plans?
We typically just do a one-time payment of 20K.
Okay. Okay, I think that makes sense. I think timing-wise, it would then have to be June, because this is just going to, it have to be June, July, because I'm just going to use my ad spend for it.
So you're talking like 8 days?
Probably not 8 days, though. Probably this time in June. Because I don't actually have time while we're doing launches.
Mm-hmm.
So like webinar on Sunday, closing all throughout next week, making sure everything's good, and then launching on June 3rd. I mean, in all honesty, the price just scares me a bit because I'm like, what do I pay 20K for? Except to Zuck. Only Zuck has ever gotten 20K out of me in a month. But also, really all I pay for here is like acceleration.
Right.
I don't think I can do it on my own, I'm going to be honest. Not that fast. Okay.
So where you want to go from here?
I mean, I'll have to. Okay, I think that makes sense. I think timing wise, it would then have to be June, because this is just gonna. It have to be June or July, because I'm just gonna use my ad spend for it.
So you're talking like 8 days?
Probably not 8 days though. Probably this time in June. Because I don't actually have time while we're doing launches. So like webinar on Sunday, closing all throughout next week, making sure everything's good, and then launching on June 3rd. I mean, in all honesty, the price just scares me a bit, because I'm like, what have I paid 20K for, except the Zuck? Only Zuck has ever gotten 20K out of me in a month. But also, really all I'm paying for here is like acceleration.
Right.
I don't think I can do it on my own, I'm going to be honest. Not that fast. Okay.
So where you want to go from here?
I mean, I'll have to at least, like, the soonest I think I do it is like this time in June, like June 15th, once I'm done my launch. I'm going to get some customer funds to pay for this. I'm not very passionate about spending 20 grand once it's in my account.
Gotcha.
But also, I'm pretty sold on it because I want the clips. I have like I said, I have a conference that we're organizing in Toronto, September 6th. And I essentially want to saturate over summer leading up to the conference, which is why this was the right time for the right ad. Do you all look at ads as part of that monetization strategy, or is it mostly just like when you talk about amplifying, like do you look at the ads and go like this would be a better way to use your money?
Yeah, no, totally get that. Yeah, what we do is we show you how to use segments of the podcast and put them inside of, let's say, if you're running an ad to a landing page or to a video sales letter, here's where you would place podcast clips, and these would be the podcast clips you use to kind of lower skepticism and make people book a call instead of just buying the lower ticket item. Does that make sense?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, but in regards to like the creative, the copy, campaign, stuff like that, yeah, no, we don't do any of that.
Okay. Cool. I mean, it's a great offer.
So is it just a money thing or is it just a time thing?
I think it's both. Like I wouldn't say like that we don't spend money. I think I'm just not that passionate about doing it. I think I'm also just looking at my travel schedule, moving, because I said I live in Paris right now. We're moving back to Canada for a month and to London in July.
Sure.
And I'm like, you're gonna catch, like, this week I think we were in like 4 countries. So if you throw me on a podcast and I'm like, sleep deprived, it also isn't like, now I'm wasting part of my 20 G's, So Canada, I think in June, I'll be pretty stable. So that's why I'm thinking that would make sense. And then same in July, like we're going to be in one place for a long time. So those would probably make the most sense.
Cool. Yeah. So like just money and time aside, like there's nothing else keeping you from being 100% less than certain, and this is what you want to do. I mean,
no, I'm great on podcasts. Like I've been talking for a long time. So I think this is just more strategic, right? Like,
sure,
I've done a bunch. But I think like part of it is like my agent wants me to start doing, I want to do more speaking next year. And so this is part of a very big strategy that I know is going to require an investment. But yeah, I'm not, I'll tell you, like, I won't run away because I don't think like it's an unreasonable investment. I think I'm just going to fit it into my June budget.
Sure.
Get my CFO to sign off on me spending 20 G's at once.
Yeah, no, I get it. And, there's a little bit of a time constraint there. And then, on the money in too, because you're already allocating money to ad spend. So if June's the time, man, June's the time. Let's do this instead of us getting off a call, you going into June and being like, well, let's just dump money in ads again. Are you cool with putting down a deposit? That way we can start building out your stuff on the back end. And when you're ready to go.
Okay. I got a lot of stuff for you. I'll give it to you here. And then, Jackson does some stuff. We'll tag team on this. So a couple things. One, I'm going to give you them like from more minor to more major, just to make this easy. So for more minor feedback, never, ever, ever ask a prospect if they're going to put down a deposit, if they want to put down a deposit. If you do that, everyone's going to say no. No one's going to say, yeah, let me just give you money for no reason. That sounds like a great idea. I want to do that. Right? But that's what we think we're going to say basically when we're asking, well, do you want to put down a deposit? No. Why do I need to put down a deposit? Right? So the key is is you don't ask with upwards inflection. You talk down with downwards inflection, and you tell them, you don't ask them. You say, okay, gotcha. So in this case, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put down a refundable deposit, and this is what it's going to allow us to do. And then you frame it in their best interest on why they put down deposit. But you're telling them they have to do it versus asking. If you do that, your compliance will shoot through the roof, I promise you. Very minor, but very important. 2, with the timing objection there of him going on an escapade around Europe for a couple months and not wanting to be on podcast because he's going to be jet lagged. Weak excuse. But the thing I would tell you is, right, is like what you want to do, man, when you have objections like that is you want them to answer the stupidity of that objection. So you don't want to tell him like, oh, dude, well, you want to get on it now because this takes time, yada, yada, yada. And let's just put down deposit. You want him to talk out loud on it, answer your questions, and get him to realize that, yeah, this is kind of a silly objection. So the way I would have done that with this objection in particular, I'm just letting people in here. The way I would have done that with this objection in particular is I would have said, okay, gosh, well, so let me ask you this. When you're going through Europe, is it safe to say you're not going to be really growing the business? It's like, yeah, exactly. You know, that's why I don't want to do the podcast thing right now. Like, we're just going to be more on traveling. Okay, gosh. So is it also safe to say we'll probably be burning through some money while we're in Europe? I mean, let's be honest. I was in Europe last year. I spent $40K. I get it. Money goes by faster. It's adult Disneyland. He's like, well, yeah, you know, we probably will spend some a little bit. Like, okay, got it. So let me ask you this. Is it also safe to say then that the business might be even more of a cash crunch, having come back, done 3 months of no prior upfront work on the business, no lead generation, no capital raising, no building, and you're spending money out the door, and then you come back and you have no lagging indicators from putting some leading indicators down in the first place before you left? And get him to answer that. Right? From that standpoint, Robert, damn son ice. Then from that standpoint, then what you want to do is say, right, exactly. So look, why I don't think it's smart, and this is, I love this like middle close that I use quite often on calls. It's like, hey, like the prospect's like, I want to do this. And the prospect, no, I want to do this. And I'm like, hey, I don't think either are smart. Let's do this right in the middle. And so what I would lead that to him with, I was like, look, what I don't think is smart is for you, you just to drop all 20K. Let's go at this full force, book a bunch of podcasts while you're on red eyes and planes and all that, and then get this rocking. That's a stupid idea. But it's also even more stupid, in my opinion, just to put nothing into the business, let it rot for a few months, burn a bunch of cash, and then come back and try to grow it with less capital. I think we can both create it's even stupider. So why don't we do this? Let's put down a refundable deposit. And here's what it's going to allow us to do. We can start getting the systems up. We can start clicking your avatar. We can start clicking the list of podcasts we want to get reached out to. We can get all that started ahead of time. That takes a few weeks regardless. And then from that standpoint, we put in those leading indicators. So now when you come back, all the lagging is set up and we just have to hit the go button. And so that's the way I would have handled that objection. Now, I want to talk about the CFO objection because that's a more intense objection to handle. But is there any questions on that? Does that make sense?
No, solid. I appreciate it.
Cool. Awesome. So with the CFO objection, the biggest thing, man, people are hopping here left and right now. The biggest thing is it's a stupid objection, to be frank with you, from a coach, which is what we're selling to here, right? He's like a coach. Agency, something like that. Yeah. I will accept a valid CFO objection only if they are like a $1 million a month company, have a board of investors. They're like, there's an actual real red corporate tape. Then I'll understand it. Because at that point, you can't really just make decisions willy-nilly because you'll piss off the investor board. So you have to actually go through some levels and some hoops. This guy's doing what? 100K a month, if that?
Yeah, about 250.
250K a month. Okay, exactly. He's doing nothing in the coaching space, right? This guy is like a single dude and is running a quote unquote business with just a couple employees and like thinks he's running a real deal. 250K is nothing if you compare to most businesses. So I want you to like just get that in mind because it's really easy when we talk to coaches and consultants, because I've done this personally at least, where you kind of like get in your head and you start looking at these guys like big players. And that will really F you up in the long run, selling to this kind of market, because at that point you start taking their objections to a lot more validity. You know what I mean by that? Yeah. So the biggest mindset thing that Cole ever gave me, funny enough, was just telling me that anyone who makes less than $1 million a month is broke, and that there's nothing that they say has any reason whatsoever. And it sounds funny. I know you guys are laughing, but like that helped me so much when it came to my sales calls, because I would get all these objections like, oh, I need to talk to my CFO. Oh, I need to run this by my team. Like all these like stupid things. I'm like, well, fuck, this guy's doing like 500K a month. You know, I'm just a sales rep. Like, who am I to say you can't do that? And once Cole put that in my mind, I was like, man, all these objections are just stupid. And these guys are just having a little bit more money and success than me. Not that much. So it's like, that was a huge mindset thing for me. So I just want to say that, because if you don't have that mindset with all the objection handler, the tactics I'm about to give you, it's not going to work. So keep that in mind. Now let's get into tactics. With tactics, the thing I like to point out with the entrepreneur, with the CFO, is that the CFO is not built from an identity standpoint to grow the business. They're built to conserve and thwart the business. And the entrepreneur's identity is the identity of aggressively building, taking on calculated risk, and scaling. And so what I needed to get him to ultimately realize, and I promise I'll give you the actual word tracks for this. I'm not going to just make this esoteric, but from the high level point of view, that's what we need to get him to realize. And we need to get him to realize that the second identity, the CEO identity, is what's grown the business from 0 to 250K a month. And it's what's needed to grow it from 250K a month to his next goal, let's say 500K. And the CFO identity is not going to be set up for that. The CFO identity is meant to stay at 250K a month and keep profit. So that's what I need to get him to realize. So the word track to do all that is with him, is I'll just ask him, okay, gotcha. So totally respect that you have a team and people you trust, you know, blah, 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 blah. Give them all the little sales things we do there. That said, I'm curious, you know, when you first started this business, did you have your CFO at day one? Okay, gosh, at what point did you bring the CFO in, if I could ask? Oh, when you're doing like around 175K a month. Okay, gotcha. So when it was you from 0 to 175K a month, who were you running things by when you're making investing decisions? I know that you're a smart business owner. You've obviously scaled to 250K a month. I know you're just not the first program you've ever invested in, right? So like, who were you running it by when you were investing in past programs? No one, just yourself. Got it. Okay, interesting. And then what are you trying to get from the CFO knowledge-wise on this that you can't already answer yourself? And that's a bit of like a doubt question. I'm gonna start sinking in. I might ask one or two more of those, depending on the situation. I might ask a couple more neutral ones, just like ease it off a little bit. But then essentially, once I have those main questions of what I want, at that point, here's what I'm gonna do. It's like, hey, can I just give you, you know, the same advice that Devin's used to scale his business to, I won't say his numbers, to X amount per month, which are way above yours? Okay. And here's the biggest thing I can tell you, man, just from that advice standpoint. And look, we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of coaches and consultants doing north of your goal is 500K a month plus. And they all have one common core standard. And that's that they make calculated decisions from the same place that got them from where they are to where they want to be, and from where they are, they want to go in the future. So what I mean by that is, if we look at your business, the matter of the fact is that you, no one else, grew it from 0 to 175K a month before you even brought anyone on. Now you're at 250K a month, which I'd argue has been mostly you doing that. So what does that tell us? That tells us that we can listen to our own beliefs, our own intuition, make our own calculated bets, and it pays off. But now you're at a place where you're at 250K a month. You've done well. You've proven that inner confidence for yourself. And now we want to scale to the next level of 500K, but you want to pass off a calculated decision of taking risk to a completely different person that never even helped grow the business to this standpoint in the first place. And now you're going to get their advice on doubling the business? And like, that's the first thing I'm going to take on it. And he might come back with something. Well, no. It's just because like, I just need to make sure like the financials look good. And like, it's not like I don't need his permission to do it. Like he might come back with a little bit of ego in that. Totally okay. It's kind of what I want. Because now he's taking ownership in some regard. So a negative response in this way is almost as a good response. And then I would reframe that. So once I got that big, exactly. So here's the biggest thing I can tell you. The CFO's job is to conserve money and stay at profit. The CFO's job is not to take calculated financial risk and bets, which is what you're doing right now. And if you put all that responsibility, all that pressure, all that permission on someone who hasn't even made a calculated risk bets to go from 0 to 175 to 250K, I don't think you want to put that same now responsibility out of nowhere in that person's hands. Say, is this the right decision to get to 500K a month? Because the matter of fact is the only person that knows that is me, and I know my confidence in delivering it. And you, if you believe that you have a good enough voice and a good enough message, good enough product to show up in these podcasts and get people interested. So I know where I sit, but let me ask you, do you believe that you're good enough to be on these podcasts, gain an audience, build a following, and get booked calls from it if you can just get on the mic and start speaking? Because at this point, I think you know what you need to do. This isn't about a CFO. This is about you. Do you want to take another calculated risk on yourself, just like you've done many times over? And then I close it down. So like the biggest thing with CFO, like I'm trying to get you to realize here, is it's all identity. It's just one massive identity objection. Cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could say the same in the same regard. That would work with, oh, I need to talk to my marketing team. Oh, I need to talk to so-and-so. It works across the board.
Yeah. I'm actually I'm actually editing a live close I did where someone's like, I need to talk to my whole team. He wanted to talk to his CFO. He wanted to talk to his sales manager. He wanted to talk to everybody. And I closed it down for like a 21K PIF on the call. So I'll get that and I'll bring it to this next one. Yeah. Does that make sense for everybody else? Is that helpful? Sweet.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
All right. Let me see here. Jackson, I'm leaving you breadcrumbs on that. Is there anything you want to jump in? You don't have to, man.
Amen. That's the only thing I have to add.
All right, bet. Got a bit carried away on that one. I was triggered. I just had that objection myself. Jenny, I got you next. What happened on this call?
So I actually closed them, but I just feel like I could have done something better. Or sometimes I like to just double down on like what I did, because the whole call, there was like minutes 3, minute 10, minute 16. He's literally like being super rude to me. And he's just like, why are you asking all these questions? You just want to know how much I have in my pocket so you can sell me the opportunity, and I ended up closing him. So I think it's pretty funny. But I just feel like I was like Matthew, like I was talking to him like I was his mother at one point. I'm like, I need to just have a different approach. So I just don't know if I can get any advice on. I don't know. I'm just a little. I don't even know. I closed him, but I was almost like, how did I make him go from mad to okay, like let's do this kind of thing? So.
Yeah. So here's what I'd tell you. You closed it, and that's all that matters. So I never want to review a call that you close, because there's nothing I could have really made you do better to collect the credit card harder. Like you collect the credit card, you ran the payment, you won. There's not too much you can learn from it. If anything, it just edifies that you did the right job, and whatever you did do and handle his objections and his resistance, you did a fucking good job because you closed the deal. So opposed to like me tell you, no, you did the wrong thing, you closed the deal. This is what I would have done instead, which is just not going to help you. I'd rather hear a call that you felt you should have closed but didn't. That's where you're going to learn the most. And that's where it hurts the ego the most, but that's also where the most growth is. So I have you pulled up. Do you have another call top of mind you can give me here that you felt you should have closed, and we'll review that?
I don't off the top of my mind right now.
Okay.
Just because I feel like that attitude that I kind of just gave him back. Like I feel like I just it's what I came up with. But in the moment later when I watched, I was like, oh, like I don't really, I don't know, because I was like, I don't like the energy. I was telling him that, and I was like, I don't know. He took it well, but I feel like someone else would have been like, "Excuse me, young lady." I don't know.
Okay. Well, just take some time. Look. I'll try to call on someone else here. Look through your little Zoom library and see if you can find something.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
Yes. Good job. All right. Let me see here. Paul. Do I still get you present?
Yeah. So I had a call yesterday, and so we have this
Real quick, how do I
partnership-
pronounce your last name? I'm sorry.
Lashinsky.
Lashinsky. Okay.
If you pretend the Z's or H's, it becomes a lot easier.
That is easier.
But
What's the
yeah,
question?
so I had a call yesterday, and so we have this partnership with this other organization that's like, hey, if you need digital marketing, talk to these guys. And the guys kind of came to the call, under the impression that our services would be free. And they were like, hey, we kind of were expecting that this was free, that we weren't really buying anything, that, we were just, kind of learning about some free stuff that we're going to get from this organization. I obviously, we can kind of like fix like marketing stuff as well. But I was just wondering, like on the call, like, is there a way in which you would approach a type of situation where someone's like, hey, I wasn't planning on spending any money. I just thought I would come here and get some free things.
Yeah, Jackson, do you want to handle that one before I steamroll?
Yeah, for sure. You put a 2 in there. Do you have a call that you want to hit, or was it just a question?
It was just a question. Sorry, I saw that that Yenny had a 1. I thought
You're
1
good,
was
you're
a
good,
question.
you're good.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
I always mix it up every time.
One's for questions, 2 for calls. I think that's how everybody does it. But anyway, not the end of the world by any means. Well, and Temple, if you're getting ready to steamroll, you can. But one couple things I would say. One, in the initial frame, like that's very, very important with how you do it, and making sure that there is a seed planted for, if this makes sense, I'll run you through how we can actually work together in XYZ format or whatever, but making sure you do that is very, very important. And then when this happened to you, was this like right away when they said it, or was it after you dropped price at the end of the call? Like, when did this actually happen? And then my answer is going to change based on that.
Yeah, so they were kind of going hard on it after I dropped price and during the temp check as well, but they had mentioned it early on in the call, so it wasn't like it didn't seem like a lie, like an excuse or anything. It seemed like they were just kind of retreating to what they had initially said.
Yeah. So, like I said, making sure you're setting a strong frame. I would go back and listen to this and make sure that frame is done the right way, the way that's in the training and everything. And then throughout the discovery, this is more likely something that's missed in there, whether it is just the timing, when they want to move forward, or pain or doubt or whatever it is. It's, in my opinion, it's most likely something that was missed there, that the box didn't get checked well enough for them to feel good about moving forward. Because if it made sense, if it's a no-brainer, then they're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you've heard the analogy, if I could sell you a Lamborghini for 50 grand, you'd do it, right? It makes sense. It's a no-brainer. You're going to do it no matter what. That's most likely the situation that we were in. Is end of call. They just weren't bought in. They didn't see the value. They didn't see that that's going to get them from X to Y, and that your process is the easiest way to do it. So making sure you have the discovery right, making sure you're throughout the pitch, getting buy-in after each pillar, or any questions, how do you feel about that, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, they weren't sold. They weren't bought in. Like, it has nothing to do with, I just wasn't going to spend any money today. That's just an easy cop out. So I got to talk to my wife. I talk to my wife about everything. That's just an easy way to get off of a phone that somebody's going to give you, that you just have to be able to overcome, But a lot of times this is just discovery throughout the pitch, and there wasn't enough value, wasn't enough doubt, pain built.
Do you think in those situations, because they seem pretty bought in on the value, Do you think that do you think this is a situation that should go a lot harder on like why now and like the cost of inaction in those types of situations? Do you think that might have put it over the line?
Well, it's hard. It's hard without listening to
Oh,
it.
that's true.
For
Yeah.
that piece specifically, but but I mean, you want to dig into that no matter the situation, right?
Yeah.
What your offer is.
We're a digital marketing agency.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, digging into that would be something you want to do for sure. But really, like I said, at the end of the day, if they were sold on it, they would have done it. Like
Yeah.
people are not going to give you and I've had plenty of people who have told me that within the first 5 minutes and then bought.
Yeah.
Like if we get them sold, get them bought in from, they're going to get from Hell Island to Heaven Island. You're the solution. They're going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I would just go back and listen to that, knowing the outcome, pay attention to the frame and the discovery specifically, and then just kind of see what you could do different based on what we're talking about right now.
Thank you.
Temple, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's leave me the breadcrumbs now. I know how it feels. Yes, I mean all that was spot on. I mean, there's not too much to add on to that. What I would say is like Jackson said, when you listen to that back and when you're focusing on discovery, like he said, the biggest thing I would ask yourself is when I ask these questions, does it sound like I'm asking the question in benefit for me, or I'm asking the question in benefit for the prospect? And I know that's a very simple question to ask yourself, but it's very important because of a lot of the questions you're asking, like you're asking cost of inaction questions, like you're mentioning earlier, et cetera. And it feels salesy, where it's like, oh, I'm just going down the script and trying to get some pain here. You're losing or building resistance and losing the sale every time you ask one of those. So by the time, you get to the pitch, he's kind of numbed out and he's already pissed off. And then he gets to the objection, you get an objection like you got at the end there. So like an example of that, and I'm not saying this is the exact question you would ask for your offer with being an agency, but this is just what comes to mind. I gave this example last week, so it's top of mind. Is like, let's say for cost of inaction, I have like a fitness coaching offer, right? What I wouldn't want to do is say, well, look, I'm curious, like what happens if nothing changes? And like next year is like the last year and so on. And like, I just hate questions like that because it just comes out of nowhere. There's usually no build up to it. It sounds salesy. And then answering that clearly shows it benefits you as the closer, right? Is that you're getting that pain up front. I'm just being more vulnerable and being emotionally manipulated. So if you give them context, like for example, I had a closer that just could not get cost of inaction for their offer. And the coaching I gave him was like, literally ask this next time. Okay, so let me ask you a more personal question, if that's okay. So you get the permission. You say, just to give you some context, the reason I'm asking this, and this is where we're framing their best interest, right? The reason I'm asking this is when we go through this, though we have the best program in the world, we have the best coaches in the world, we have the best results in the world, that doesn't mean this is not going to be incredibly hard and difficult. There are just going to be days where you do not want to get out of bed and you do not want to continue going to the gym. You don't want to get on the curriculum. You don't get on a coaching call and say that you've gained weight or anything like that. And you just rather just avoid it altogether and ghost. And believe it or not, we do get those, even with how much people invest into this. And as much as I wish we could just fly over to your house, rip you out of bed, put you in the gym, we could charge a lot more if we did. We obviously can't. This is all over Zoom. So the only way we can really hold you accountable is by understanding what's truly at stake for you if we don't fix this problem, and being able to remind you of that during our hardest and roughest and rainiest days. So I want to ask you, what is truly at stake for you if nothing changes? And please give me an honest answer that's actually going to help you 3 months from now, and you're going to thank yourself for it. Do you see, like, there's just no way someone would ever give me a blank answer after that. Oh, then I'll be where I'm at. That's just not a response I'm going to get to a question like that. So I give you that as like an exaggerated example of it, just so you can see like the difference between asking in your best interest versus asking the prospect's best interest. So that's the only thing I'd say. When you review discovery, review how you're asking your questions. Big key.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Robert, send me a call that you cried on during discovery.
All right, Yanni, I got you. Let's pull this out. 5820. What happened here? Tell me you closed it.
He brought his mother on the call because she's also going to be doing reverse mortgages. So that was my first time dealing with two people, and I honestly think I was very nervous for some reason, and the mom would kept like saying things in the middle of like the call or something.
Can you give me the share link real quick while you're telling me this? I want to make sure you have time.
How do I do that? Oh my.
You might have copied the link at the top. You got to hit the share button.
Send recording? No. Share button.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your
Yeah,
screen.
so look at this. So you hit this button here and then copy link and make sure it says anyone with link in view.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Anyone with link in view. Got it. Okay.
Okay, so you were saying he brought his mother to the call.
Yeah. But the whole thing at the end with him was just that the 10K upfront was too much, and he never had spent that money in anything. His mother. So yeah, I just think I could have probably done something different at the end.
Okay, what's the offer again?
Reverse mortgages.
Oh, that's right. I remember you explaining this already.
Yeah. We build a system for them to generate opportunity.
Cool.
With the marketing team, if you need more.
And his mom is like business partner. Who is she exactly?
She just started to become a business partner with him. Yeah, she used to do insurance, and now she's doing reverse. She's never done a reverse in her life, and neither has he, by the way.
Did she drop off right there?
No, she was in the call, but she turned off her camera and she doesn't show here anymore. But you'll hear her. She says something.
Just going into this, whether it's mom, whoever, just treat it like it's two partners on a call. Like it's fine. Just throughout have both of them talking. If you ask a question and you get an answer, hey, you, anything else to add? Hey, Robert, anything else to add? Like whatever it is, just make sure you're keeping both of them engaged throughout the process. But just don't overthink like it being his mom in this situation. That's fine. And then throughout the discovery, you'll be able to kind of gauge who really is the decision maker. And then post price drop, you're probably going to just be talking to that person more.
To answer that, she actually said something, and I went to respond to her, and he's like, "Mom, I'm the one who's like," he gave her like a really bad response, and I was like, "Okay, so we're focusing on you then." But yeah, that was like early in the call.
And what is the name of your company? I know that's mostly going off of Wayne, but what are you calling yourself?
Hercules Advertising.
And what's his last name?
When's later? Is it because you want to do some research?
Yeah, I need to do some research before I shell out $9,500 for. We're basically committing to effectively, $15,000 here. So that's a big chunk of cash. And obviously, we're saying that if we close 2 deals, it's profitable. And then it's going to take us a couple months before we see a deal close. So
my concern is that it's so much targeted towards one sector of loans that you do zero of right now.
Yeah, that I've never done one. Yeah.
Well, with that, we have training.
You should get the same kind of program targeted towards residential, but is reverse on the side rather than the way around.
What do you guys have anything that you recommend in terms of a third-party verification of you guys' service or somebody we could call or reach out to or proof of these numbers that you're talking about?
We have
one of the bigger. I've talked to a lot of marketing companies. This might be the biggest anyone's ever asked me for up front. So I'm gonna have to do some legwork on it for sure.
So this has been the biggest number that you've heard up front?
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty big commitment for $15,000 over 6 months.
Okay, and can I ask you a question? Have they offered the kind of product that we're offering, the kind of systems, the kind of like everything that we're giving you?
Everybody's offering a phenomenal system. So I'm not saying you guys lying to me, but
yeah, it's Daddy Jackson's about to hop in here. Let's hear it.
So one thing right there that I would, if you get that, like, oh, so I'm going to pay this amount of money for something that I've never done before. Yeah, that's totally fine. That's the whole, most people that we work with have never actually done this before. That's really the whole benefit to this process, right? We've done this XYZ number of times with a XYZ number of people. And to be honest with you, a lot of them were in the same exact situation that you are. So the fact that you've never done one before, like that's no worries at all. You're totally fine. You're in the right spot. We'll definitely be able to get you to the point where you're able to do them. You're able to shell them out left and right. You'll be able to hit XYZ goal you told me earlier, but I'm definitely going to address that right there. because he kind of keeps going, asks for testimonials and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know if you ever get back to that, but at the end of the day, like that's the concern. They're scared to jump into something they've never actually done. Right. So I definitely want to address that right there. And I'm assuming most people you deal with have never done reverse mortgages. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would bet 90% of them, right? So
Yeah, no.
getting that out there right then, I definitely would have done that for sure, just to get them feeling good, and just some ultra confidence with you're in the right spot, you're going to be fine. Yeah, that's totally normal. We see that all the time. Blah blah blah. Right.
Okay, really good point.
Nice. Jackson, real quick, Cole's calling me, and he never calls me, so I assume there's a bit of emergency. Can I have you pull this one up?
Yep, totally fine.
5912.
Okay.
I'm dropping the link just in case.
I got it.
Thank you.
5912. I hate doing this through Fathom because you can't actually see where we're at. Okay, that's good.
$15,000 here. So that's a big chunk of cash. And obviously we're saying that if we close 2 deals, it's profitable. And then it's going to take us a couple months before we see a deal close. So
I'm concerned that it's so much targeted toward one sector of loans that you do zero of right now.
yeah, that I've never done one. Yeah.
Yeah, like right there. That's the concern.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that, we have training. I should get the same kind of program targeted towards residential, but is
Yeah, and like to my point, you see the difference between, yeah, well, we have training with that versus what's this guy's name? Yeah, Kirtland. I don't know how to say it. Kirtland. That's totally fine. Like just so we're on the same page. Literally 95% of people who come in and do very, very well with this had never done it before.
Yeah.
Totally fine. We have everything you need to be able to get set up, get them running, help you get people in the door, like whatever your benefits are. But I'm going to address that right then and there for sure.
reverse on the side.
But does that make sense? Do you see the difference?
100%. Yeah. I was trying to be laid back because it was 2 people in front of me and I was like a 1 person. So I'm like, I need to look as relaxed as I can in this freaking call. So at the end, I was taking my time to handle the objections, but that makes total sense. If I would have said that, it's kind of like, yeah, I'm agreeing with you kind of thing. Like, yeah.
Can I give you, I mean, this isn't harsh, but can I give you some kind of harsh feedback? No, I mean, it's not harsh, but I think you overthink that a little bit. Earlier when you talked too about, like, I was worried about my tone and I was worried about being this guy's mom, like, and like kind of bossing around a little bit. That's fine. You close the guy. These guys, like, just have a conversation with them. Like, you don't need to overthink the leaning back and the tone and how you're kind of handling yourself. Just have it feel natural and you're going to be fine. Okay.
I know the way, you should get the same kind of program targeted towards residential, but is reverse on the side. I know the way,
What do you guys have anything that you recommend in terms of a third-party verification of you guys' service or somebody we could call or reach out to or proof of these numbers that you're talking about?
We have
One of the bigger. I've got a lot of marketing companies. Might be the biggest anyone's ever had.
When you guys aren't a marketing company, right?
We're a marketing company.
But it's more than that, no? Because you're helping people who to just find leads to do reverse mortgages. Is that it?
It's more than that. It's more, and I already had done like my breakdown of what we do for them. We kind of do cater to what they need. So like we offer like a course on it as well, outside of helping them continue to bring the leads and stuff like that. So yeah, because we're working directly with a guy that since 2008 has been doing reverses. So he partnered up with the marketing company and built this course. So it's like knowledge plus results kind of thing,
Yeah. Because I want to go to your temp check here, actually. Because whenever this happens, what's the name of your company? And you can tell that he's Googling it. Like that's either really good or really bad. It's one of the two. And I think this one was one of the bad examples. He's not necessarily bought in, How do you usually temp check? And do you say like 1 to 10?
I don't know if I did it on this call. Sometimes I forget to, which is not great. Like the call that I closed, I temp checked and he gave me a 7. But this one, I don't remember if I did. Is there a way you can ask Fathom?
What's your price? What's your price point?
10. What do you mean price point? Like how much it is
Yeah,
for
how
the
much is it?
9,500, which is almost 10 grand.
Do you know where you drop price by chance? So it's feasible. Okay, right. Okay. So let's see this.
Oh yeah, because he asked me if there was a payment plan, and I even gave him a payment option.
This is
All for you. The AI is included. Everything is included.
this is before you drop price, right?
I think that was after, actually. Yeah.
Okay, typically 9,500, 9,500. Okay.
Oh wait, did it was that 10 go down? I think I did a temp check.
I saw 9,500 a little bit ago.
Always I've seen 6,000, but the averages are 10 to 50 grand per loan. Is that kind of like what you're used to hearing from like the reverse market, or you've never really?
No, I mean, that does sound high because I would think that the average reverse mortgage is something like 300 grand or something. So, yeah, I mean, that sounds like it's on the higher side, but I don't know.
So I have the same question because 300 grand, like you said, is $6,000 at 2%, 2.5. Is there a limit on, because we do borrower paid where we make up to 2.75? Do you do the same thing?
These questions I wouldn't be able to answer for you. This is more of a training material that Wayne would be able to answer. I don't even want to get into it because I'd be lying to you guys. What I can tell you is that what I've been seeing on checks, like revenue from a reverse, once everything is done, what they're doing averages is 10 to 15 grand. Does that sound like familiar or sounds?
Sounds good. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. Especially because obviously we don't know how people work with the leads that they get. We only know the leads that we get you with the results that we get you. I don't know outside of us what you guys are seeing, but that's what we say. So, so do you feel like with the support and everything, do you feel like, from 1 to 10, do you feel like it's something that could work for you guys that you?
Just be careful there too. Like you answer the questions. Does that make sense? Any other questions? Okay, cool. Now I'm going to go temp. I just want to make sure that there's no other questions on the process specifically before we go to the temp check, because if there is a question and you go to temp check them, it's one, the only thing they're going to be thinking about is that question. And then two, they're not going to give you an accurate answer if they have questions and they're confused. Confused buyers don't buy, So just take that little pause there, especially after they're asking you a bunch of questions and you're answering those. Answer that. Okay, cool. Any other questions? Okay, cool. Now, how do you feel about the process specifically? We go through the temp check.
Think that could work for you guys that outside of obviously we haven't talked about price, but
yeah, I think that we're headed in the right direction.
Okay, so in 10 days we typically launch you, or we launch in 10 days basically. Investment today, we plug everything in 10 days.
What was that?
Like I asked temp check and I didn't re-ask because they didn't give me a number. I totally forgot I'd asked the question.
Yeah.
And after that, we start getting the leads, and then you guys just pretty much get booked with the leads that we've generated and screened for you. And then for everything for 6 months is 9,500.
There's some kind of 30-page open.
I'm sorry.
Say that again. It's 9,500 like upfront, and then
Yeah. See how confused they are.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of that is because we just go from question mode. You went right into it. Went right into the temp check. It was kind of a choppy temp check and right into the price.
Yeah.
That includes 9 months, or is that prorated over the 9 months, or how's that work?
It's typically everybody just paying in full. It's 9,500 for 6 months.
And that includes, but it's plus $1,000 per month, right?
Yeah, that's what you pay.
Advertising. So the system to Wayne is 9,500, and then you're recommending $1,000 per month, close a deal or two per month, right?
Correct.
Ad spend. And that go high level is what, 250 a month?
No, that's all. 9,500 for 6 months. The go high level that we create for you.
I'm just going to scroll through this for 1 second. Yeah, it's just that's really the issue, in my opinion, right there. Is it turns into Q&A mode after you drop the price, right? And from here to through where we were listening to, I never got a feeling that they liked it, that they were into it, that they wanted to do something like this, So the key takeaways here: one, don't forget the temp check. You said that happens, but if they're asking questions, you're done with your pitch, right? If they're going to go into a few questions, just take a little bit of time, slow down a little bit there. It's totally fine. Answer the questions. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions on the process specifically? Because if they have some, those need to get answered before we drop price, because then that's all they're going to be thinking about. And that's going to turn into, hey, let me do some research. Let me think about it. So any other questions on the process specifically? Cool. How do you feel about everything? Does this sound like what you need? Yeah, it sounds good. You know, you get kind of a rough answer, an answer that isn't great. Okay, cool. Do this for me. Scale of 1 to 10. 1, you hate me. You never want to see me again. 10, like this is what you need. You want to do this right now. Where are you at on that? What'd you say? I'm an 8. Okay, cool. And I'm curious, like the difference between an 8 and a 10. Like, what is that? Oh, I just need to know the price. Okay, cool. Investment this much, and then we kind of go through the rest of it. But just with where we're at right now, there was never that situation of, you know, they feel good about it, you know, they want to do it, and it just turned into straight Q&A mode, which is a situation that you really don't want to be in, especially after the price drop. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, because I know exactly what I did different from the calls that I've closed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally messed that up.
So yeah, and it's an easy fix here. It's an easy fix. Just take that pause, get a good temp check in every single time, and then go from there. But it's just way easier to handle objections if you get a good temp check in. You're going to be able to actually do it, and you're fine. So, and then like I said earlier, just don't overthink the tone and how you're doing. Like we used to make a joke with a bunch of sales teams I'm on, and when it was all guys at that point, but it's like, sometimes you have to daddy them. You're going to be the same thing. Sometimes you're going to have to mommy them. You're going to have to be their mom and tell them what to do, like the guy you did with close that you closed. That's totally fine. Just don't overthink that. You're fine. You sound good. Just get back to the basics, and you're going to be totally fine. So, does that help? Any other questions or anything with that?
Just quickly, thank you so much, by the way, both of you. Just super quick, because like in my previous call, I don't know who I heard it from, but like when they give you a 10 or sorry, a 7, let's say, I said, why not a 5? Let's just say I forgot what I said. So do you ever go under and then you why not a 10? Do you ever do that? Because I did that previously, and he's like, because I'm very optimistic. That's why it's not a 5. And I was like, okay, so we're very optimistic. So now what's like, how do we make this a 10? And he's like, it's just, I just need to know price. And then I dropped in and I closed that guy. But this guy, obviously I didn't do that.
Yeah, I know I gave you that before. That's because I like to get them closer to the buying pocket before I focus on the negativity of it.
Hmm.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of personal preference too, honestly. Like if like you like to do that, do it. I don't think I've ever said that on call, but just Temple likes to do it. Try it out, see if you like it. Great. So, all right, we got to hop, guys. Thank you, and we will see you later.
Sweet, y'all. Peace.